Are you ready? Good morning, and welcome to the official kickoff of Nick Never in Control. We are back and we are back in full force. Couple of weeks ago, 20 minutes to the hour, threw myself up there and said, should we do this again? And by popular vote, let's do it. What a way to kick off this, well, I guess it's a live, but I'm going to refer to it as the audio room, the way we always did. What a way to kick this off. Oh my God. Talk about never being in control. So, yeah, Nick ditched the job. Yeah, Nick was like, Guiding Brilliant Writers Publishing, I am going all in. And boy, oh boy, am I all in with an incredible launch coming in just under 2 weeks. I am like, I can't even tell you. I keep going back to the manuscript at the worst hours of the night. And this psychological thriller is going to leave you wanting more and more and more. So, good morning and welcome to all of the people I see out there. And I can't even say people. I mean, you guys are my friends. You guys are GBW Publishing fans. You guys are who make it possible for me to dream and for me to make those dreams a reality. I owe such gratitude, such thanks. And I want you to know that I see and I feel every single one of you. My big brother Aaron Gibson, Soul Man Live, he is just blowing it up. I had to throw in a little creepy music. I don't have as hot off the press production and composition music this morning, but maybe we'll fix that. Jackie Halbert, the re-entry specialist, and Tripping with Jax. I cannot wait for Tripping with Jax. I believe that is kicking off tomorrow, and I most certainly will be there talking about my beautiful country, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, first I need to hear all about Jackie's cruise, actually. LinkedIn user, I'm thinking that might be you, Jenlyn. Adore Unica. Unica has really stepped up and helped Guiding Brilliant Writers with this kickoff of the business. Incredible banners featuring the pictures of the 62 co-authors that have been published with me. This is not about the publishing company. This is about the stories that we put out there, the people behind the stories, because we're living in a pretty rough world these days. And I don't know about you, but I love getting lost in a good story. It's something about being able to remove yourself from the space that you are in for a time and put yourself somewhere else. I think when I do return, it grounds me, actually. It grounds me and reminds me that I was blessed with an imagination. And when things get rough, I could take myself there anytime I want. And I want for all the readers of the amazing books coming out this year. And trust me, there are quite a few in the lineup already for this year. So, moving on, Leslie Flowers. Leslie Flowers has been gracious enough to invite me on as the co-host to Mind Over Matter Mondays. We are going to be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. I cannot wait for another thrilling conversation. And they really are thrilling, not like a thriller, but thrilling in the sense that we walk away with so much motivation, inspiration, things that you can adapt into your life the moment that stream ends. Carolyn Smith, it's so great to see you. I am so happy to hear that your surgery went well on Friday. Welcome back. I know you're resting and recuperating, as is Jen Lynn from her surgery as well, midweek last week. So, two of our community, we love you and we wish you a speedy recovery. I'm so happy to have you back with us. Okay, Jackie, I'm so sorry if that's scary music, even. Your cat looking scared. That's good. That's really good. That's on point branding, I would say. Melissa, good morning. Good morning. So Melissa is my business coach. I was like that person that nope, don't need a coach. Haven't had a coach, don't want a coach. The really good thing about Melissa is she lets me just throw up all my ideas and then she goes, okay, Nick, let's uh let's start Venn diagramming. Let's put this stuff in order, shall we? Um, and she helps me to organize my somewhat chaotic mind. But I do believe my chaotic mind is the reason why I have 10 arms and can do all the crazy things that I do and loving every moment of it. Sharon Byrne, good morning. Sharon Byrne is my neighbor right here in Long Island. Met Sharon last year. She's a 45-minute drive away, and as soon as the weather kicks in and gets a bit better, I would be heading back down that way. And we gotta make sure that I pick up my other neighbor, Stephen A., the author whisperer. If you have not caught Stephen's content, you need to. You need to see the videos that Stephen does. He is somebody that if you are an author, a publisher, an avid reader, if you are into the world of books and storytelling, you need to hear what this guy has to say. And Stephen, just so you know, I'm doing some major research, and Ingram Sparks is most certainly on my list. Thank you, my friend. Michelle Wardenhorn, hi and good morning. Oh my God, Michelle is so full of life. The other night we were on with Noni Varoni and my Trinise is Lisa Fefek, and we were celebrating Carnival. Carnival is happening in Trinidad right now as we speak. These people are in the streets parading, having a blast. I'm sitting here in my living room looking out at the beautiful sunshine and going, what do you mean yesterday it was 55 in New York and today is 30? Ridiculous. But sets us in the mood for that chilling wind. Hello, Yolanda. Yolanda, I owe Yolanda a dance for about 3 years. And one of these days, we are certainly going to get up and do the cha 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 together. Okay, so I think I caught everyone, but you guys keep blowing up the comments here. So, Sandra, Sandra, it is so great to see you. Sandra is one of my newer connections, and I want to say, friends, we've had some lovely conversations. She is a woman behind, and this is something that speaks to my heart so much. She is a woman behind helping immigrants to reconnect, I want to say, with their worth. And as an immigrant myself, a transplant to the United States, and now an American citizen, I can tell you, holding on to my culture and leaning into the beauty of all that I have learned through my years growing up there and blending it into my culture here now gives me such a unique perspective because now I don't have two separate cultures, I have one. And it propels me forward in my personal growth, but it especially, believe it or not, propels me forward in my professional growth. Alrighty, so I have talked and talked and talked, and I am not going to keep people in suspense any longer. I am going to bring up author Jack Torrance. This gentleman, and I don't even know if I should refer to him as a gentleman, or should I? Well, I don't know. Let's see how he would like to be referred as. Jack, good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. I know that you must be away in a quiet corner, perhaps penning something chilling to come. But today we want to talk about your new release coming March 15th, The Silent Canvas. So please introduce yourself as you may and dive right in because I know the audience is dying to know a bit about where this is all coming from, what this book is about.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Jack Torrance here. Such a pleasure to be with you, and I don't care how you refer to me, doesn't matter. But you're right, constantly thinking about this genre. And this book is really sort of a passion and love affair that came to life over uh, quite a long period of time. It started years ago in a way, from my childhood, sort of falling in love with literary giants like the Faulkners and Edgar Allan Poe's. Uh, Learned to fight through a reading and learning disability as a child. Was fortunate enough to attend a boarding school in the foothills of Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. And in my nights, I would read the horror of many of my favorite authors. So it started there years and years ago, and it just grew from that.
Wow. So you touched upon actually having, did you say a reading disability? Because,
Yeah, I was diagnosed in middle school as learning disabled. I had a reading, writing, comprehension, thorough disability. I struggled with slight dyslexia. I I struggled with a slight disability, and as well as a slight
I
disability. Do you hear me? I was told that somebody doesn't hear me.
I do hear you, and I have to say, I if you had not shared that with me now and with us now, I could tell you they also would feel the same way when they read this book. I mean, the fact that you were able to work through and overcome that disability or, the challenges that you faced uh, through your reading of these horror novels and can absorb and place yourself in a persona where you can now turn around and bring this to the readers is that's quite a journey and that's quite an accomplishment in itself. So I want to congratulate you on that. Although I am pretty sure in a couple of weeks' time we are going to be congratulating you on so much more.
Yes, no, thank you. I greatly greatly appreciate that. And it probably did fuel me. Sometimes your greatest challenge can become your greatest strength. We've all likely faced that, whatever it might be. And when you face your struggles head on and you fuel your pain and sometimes even self hatred, you can create a world in which maybe you even envision the talent and abilities you wish you had, and then you bring that to life in some way.
Oh
So
God, you're speaking my language in so many ways. So many ways. I am so glad that you took a chance. You came out, you want to do this, you found me, and like I couldn't be more blessed and more honored to be launching not just, this incredible storyline, but the person behind it, the meaning behind it. As somebody that is bipolar, I completely understand. I understand the challenges, what could be imposter syndrome, what could be a more so concern that people uh, will not take the opportunity to look beyond and drawing from the strength of overcoming something adverse, staying determined, visualizing, and then manifesting. These are things that the incredible people in my community Um, they exemplify every day in different ways. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here and now I have my goosebumps up for a completely different reason.
No, that's
So,
great.
you definitely shared with us a little bit about how we could see this genre as something that you would have stepped into. And even in a sense, um, you know, what inspired you in terms of pushing beyond your boundaries of some of the challenges you had. Is there anything else you want to share with us about, I guess, your inspiration of, starting to write, not necessarily in this genre per se, but just writing as a whole?
Yeah, sure. And that's a really good launching point, I think. In my late 20s, this is what I mentioned earlier is really in my grade school up through high school. There was some real humiliation. I couldn't read in front of classes without being mortified and mocked and bullied by kids. I'm a bit of an older generation, so I certainly know that bullying in schools is nothing new, unfortunately, but it was quite rampant in the 80s, 70s and 80s when I was a child and into my teen years. And I really fought to overcome that. Fast forward to my late 20s, I did suffer a really life altering trauma, completely reshaped my identity, who I am as a person. The event really forced me to question sort of everything I knew about myself, my values, and really how I interacted with others. So writing, Nick, it became a lifeline. I completed a book, never published it, but it was a real therapeutic release. It was proof to me also that my words mattered. As I gave the book, send the book to friends and to even some of my clients when I was in a certain field, family and such. They told me they really felt their pain, my pain, as if they had experienced the fear and trauma, the horror of it firsthand. And I thought, wow, that's an amazing sort of gift and somewhat of a compliment. The feedback was really validating, I suppose you could say. They said, I really feel like you were telling a story, but gosh, I felt the agony of whether or not you were going to survive this trauma, this event. And it really affirmed my belief that I had real gift as a writer. In years past, life happens, right? I've changed careers a few times. Then the babies came. I had a failed marriage, another one that flourished, thankfully. And then 2 decades later, after this terrible event, I applied for a master's at Brown University, and they asked me to write 3 essays on different topics that related to the master's program. One was the future of work, the other was technology's impact on cities of the future, and then how humans in the future will likely interact with machines and AI and how that's going to affect our behavior and how we interact with each other and such. And I'm just paraphrasing, that's more or less. It's been many years. And out of all the applicants, I was awarded the Gold Standard Scholarship, is what they called it, for the top essay writer. So this recognition was further validation of my writing skills and really sort of solidified for me that the realization that writing was an undeniable part of who I really am.
So, there was so much that I picked up in there, but I am putting up a couple of the comments now because I want you to see when you talk about accomplishments, when you talk about opening yourself up to be vulnerable and put your deepest emotions on paper, that this now is not just going to reach the eyes and minds and hearts of your family, your past client, friends. You're bringing this to the world. You're not just bringing the stories that you will be publishing to the world. You are bringing Jack Torrance. You are bringing this man of mystery who has just reached so deep down into his soul and dragged up every past hurt, anger, bitter trauma. You're dragging it up into the light. And in many ways, when I read this manuscript, it surprised me almost to see the touch and the hints of love in it. Um, you think scary and you think, what, like people getting chainsaw massacred. You don't think of the other parts um, of the character, if you will, or characters, that they have other parts to them, and they certainly do. Um, I think this would be a really good moment for me to read the, I want to say, one of the blues, rather, about the silent canvas.
Great.
Okay, let's go. In search of a fresh start, Natalie and her daughter Elise moved to the quiet town of Willow Creek, hoping to leave the shadows of their past behind. But their new life quickly spirals into unease as Natalie is haunted by strange phone calls, local gossip, and the unsettling presence of their neighbor, Alric Thorne, a charming therapist with a dark obsession. As Alric manipulates his way into her life, Natalie is drawn to him, yet terrified by the secrets he's hiding. When his twisted obsession takes a deadly turn, Natalie must confront the trauma of her past and the shocking discovery that she's carrying Alric's child. Grief stricken and unraveling, she embarks on a path of revenge, determined to make those who wronged her pay. Will she survive her descent into darkness or become the very monster she fears? A chilling tale of love, obsession, and betrayal awaits. And that, my friends, is what's coming. That is what is awaiting us. And like Leslie says, I can't wait for this thriller. Okay, I am getting like over myself here. Seriously. Tell me something. If there were three things you wanted your readers to know about you, about Jack Torrance, three things that when they hear that name, what do you want them to feel? What do you want top of mind for them?
Yeah, Jack Torrance is, many of you may know, using an alias, and where it came from as far as the inspiration and my love affair for this character, as many of us probably have a dark character from our thrillers that we so admire and love. This one is from Stephen King. All right. And most of us hopefully have read The Shining. This movie had a lasting impact on me. I was only 14 in high school when I first saw the movie, and even a little younger when I read the book. Kept me up for weeks, as it may have many of you. But it also unlocked a fascination with somewhat of the dark side, the macabre, and the psychological, even psychotic thrill of characters like a Jack Torrance. And as I studied him more and more, he actually became the inspiration behind this book in an interesting way. The mystery of whether Jack is a sane man or is he driven to madness by the Overlook Hotel becomes a pivotal question. And that parallel is also in the silent canvas. You, as the reader, and I, as the writer, open up possibility of, is this person really losing it? Are they having a psychotic breakdown, or are they possessed by something deeper, more sinister? In college, Nick, I studied philosophy and psychology. Dr. David DeWolf, he was the first one that introduced me to abnormal psychology in 1993. That moment sparked what I think is a lifelong obsession with psychological thrillers, true crime, serial killers, and such. Uh, I learned about Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy. It's going to sound odd, but it ignited a passion to try to understand the minds, not so much in their horrible actions, but more in the minds of a criminal. What happened to these individuals? Where did it go wrong? And here's an interesting twist. At 31, I was recruited by the FBI actually to study abnormal criminal behavior, the what it's called offender motivation behavior. And my career was taking off doing something else, so I didn't make the move. But I often wondered, what my life would be if I had joined the FBI in Quantico, Virginia, which is just 10, 20 minutes from my hometown. It's where I grew up. So, today life has slowed quite a bit. I'm older now, but I still enjoy this genre through TV shows, little guilty pleasures like Criminal Minds, or maybe some of us have watched Dateline, more reality TV, real true crime. But this is my favorite genre because it revolves around one big word, and that's psychopathy, right? The heart of the question really is, and what's mystified me and driven me for decades is, what causes the mind to fracture to the point of taking another's life?
Wow, that is heavy. I mean, listen, I know it's Sunday morning, but I gotta tell you, like, this conversation, as intense as it is, I am enjoying tremendously. It's like, what causes the human mind to fracture to such a degree that all sense of rightness and righteousness is lost? What drives a person to that point? You know, love, desire, passion. That, for me, when I think of the times that I have perhaps been angriest, it's those times where I felt unseen, unheard, unfelt, where people seem to have formed perceptions I feel not necessarily based on my actions, but society as a whole. And it really makes you step back and think how some people could end up driven to certain points, doing certain things that are to us inhumane. I just want to take a moment before I share with the audience something very incredible that they're about to hear to acknowledge some of our friends that have joined us. And by extension, Jack, you, like my big brother Aaron Gibson just said, you have just adopted an entire new family, a family of not just fans of the genre that of storytelling that you're going to share with us, but of the person behind the pen, the person who, like so many of us, walked his journey, dealt with his challenges, overcame them, and I'm sure at times still thinks about them and continues to propel himself in the direction that he chooses for his life. So, with that, I'm going to say hello to Jenny Gold. It's so nice for you to join us this morning. I'm glad you had an opportunity too. I know Sunday mornings is a little tough for you at times Sia, I am a little bit shocked to hear, to be honest. Sia must have not been out too late last night. Sia is not a morning person. Sia is here. Okay, so I know that I think we definitely all feel blessed to have Sia with us this morning. Rachel Garnett, it is so great to see you. Rachel just joined the upcoming anthology, We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses, and I am thrilled that she has joined us this morning. Rachel has been very, very busy, feet on the ground, getting her AI business up and running. I want to welcome Ashwarya and, of course, my dear friend Jason, um, the transformational kitchen king, as I want to refer to him, opening up just the possibility for people to adopt skills that help them to earn a living wage. And boy, oh boy, do we need that more than ever now. And then Tracy, criminology must have been very interesting. So Tracy is a voiceover artist, and I am thrilled that she's here. I'm curious to know her thoughts on my reading, but more so, Jack, I think that the audience is maybe dying to hear you perhaps read something for us in a very Jack Torrancy way. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot.
No, that's fine. Always a pleasure to share, and thank you for everyone joining, and Aaron Gibson for being so welcoming and offering me this family that's very embracing. So much appreciated. Hats off. Um, well, if you don't mind, Nick, if we're going to do that, I want to give the audience a little bit of background of where I'm going to drop you in, because if not reading the whole book, it may not make as much sense.
This
Why?
is all you, sir. All you.
Okay. So, just so everyone knows, the main character in the silent canvas is a gal named Natalie. And in this moment, which is near the end of the book, this is the last moment that she's ever going to be sane, normal, and have a semblance of happiness. Unfortunately for Natalie, though, this is all a facade. We don't necessarily know her boyfriend, her lover's madness and what he's truly capable of, the monster that he is, just yet. But at this moment, she's somewhat under the guise or somewhat of the disillusionment that everything is normal and carefree and lovely, which is the opposite of her life, which was full of trauma and disappointment and all things sort of negative. So it's really a bittersweet pill for the reader, because we're sort of building up. Natalie is hoping to have a normal life, a nice, fulfilled life, one with her child and this new man that seems to be perfect. And it all comes crumbling down very shortly thereafter. So hopefully that gives you the backdrop, and I'll read now the beginning of chapter 17. I sat on the porch, my sketchbook balanced on my lap as the late afternoon sun rolled beneath a cloud. Elise's laughter rang out, bright and carefree, as she darted around with Ulrich, a butterfly net clutched in her tiny hands. She was determined to catch one, and Ulrich, with his rare and surprising talent for handling her, was helping her. She crouched beside her and pointed toward a flower bed. His voice instructed her how to move quietly. Elise nodded with exaggerated seriousness. Her messy ponytail bounced as she tiptoed forward. My heart swelled at the sight of them together. Elise was happy, truly happy. And as crazy as it might sound, so was I. A soft breeze carried the scent of fresh cut grass, and it mixed with the faint aroma of Ulrich's cologne, which seemed to be everywhere now. I sketched absent-mindedly, my pencil dancing across the page as I tried to capture the moment. The lines formed effortlessly, led by the warmth of led by a warmth that bloomed in my chest. Life felt stable, almost normal. I let out a soft laugh as I thought normal wasn't something I ever expected to have, not after everything Elise and I had been through. But here I was, someone's girlfriend, Ulrich's girlfriend. The words felt strange, like trying on a new dress and realizing it fit perfectly. Mom, did you see that? Elise's voice broke through my thoughts. She spun around and held up the net triumphantly. We almost caught one. You're a pro, sweetheart, I called back with a smile. Ulrich straightened and his gaze shifted right through me. Even from a distance, the heat in his eyes sent a shiver down my spine. He offered one of those beautiful, crooked smiles that made my heart skip a beat. You're next, he said, his voice teasing loud enough that I could hear. I rolled my eyes, but I couldn't fight the blush that crept down my neck.
Can you keep reading? I'm just kidding. Oh my God, I can feel the chill down my spine. The handful of times that you change intonation, um, for the little girl, I was like, oh, a lot of times people read and they read very flat, right? Um, and and then to bring this part in, um, as you know, I have published several anthologies, and so I have worked with many co-authors, 62 of them, and everybody's, of course, brings their heart to their story. But as the reader reading it is one thing, right? Um, Having somebody else read it aloud is one thing, but when you hear the writer read it, something that Melissa Houston started doing on her coffee chats with Melissa Houston on Saturday mornings. Yesterday, she read her chapter from the second book in the trilogy she was in, that I published, and the chat before that, she read her chapter from A Message to My Family, and the response was overwhelming. Why? Because when the writer reads it, the writer can inflect the emotions that are meant to be displayed. And you just did that beautifully. This now has just taken on a life of its own. I'm sorry, but Jack Torrance is about to become very, very, very famous. Actually, I'm not sorry because Aaron said in the comments, did Nick actually just say sorry? So you're new to this room and you will learn that one of the rules I have in this room is we do not say sorry. We come up, we express ourselves, we say what we came here to say, we just do so respectfully. So I am going to open up the stage and invite people to come up and share with us who their favorite horror novel author is for now, because that might change in a couple of weeks. So I would love to hear from people in the audience. What do they love about a good thriller? What really hooks them in? And if you can name a book, what is it about that particular book that drew you in? So the link to join us backstage is in the comments of the video I posted this morning, that my kind husband took. Of course, I think my husband is just tickled pink by this entire journey as well. I think that I'm quite amusing to him, to be honest, Jack. And saying that, what are your family's thoughts? Not just of the the manuscript and what this is bringing out in you, but you're about to be unleashed on the world. I mean, this has to be, I want to say, maybe a little bit nerve-wracking for you. I mean, I don't know whether or not it is. And then what does your family think?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that I'm not really sure yet how to answer. My wife is thrilled, and at the same time, she's always been a little terrified to read some of my manuscripts, and she's sometimes frightened by how much I watch true crime. She'll joke and say, "I guess you're learning how to hide my body or things." So we have an ongoing joke a little bit about that. But as far as my two children, I had two boys, they're age 19 and 11. Haven't really told them yet, just more out of the privacy and deeply personal reasons. At some point, we'll have, as a family, we will have that discussion, and that's partially at this point why I'm choosing to go under the alias. And I also think the alias adds a lot of mystery and intrigue as well, of course. But yeah, it's a great question, and certainly time is going to reveal all those answers.
Oh, yes, it most certainly will. So I am very happy to say that the executive remote producer of Nick Nevin Control the Live Show, Aaron Gibson, Soulman Live, just joined us backstage. Um, he's been teaching me to swim. Let's put it that way. Even though he is my executive remote producer, he also believes that as the host, as with the mostess, I have to definitely understand how to run my controls. So it's been very interesting for me this morning. I am not used to uh, being the one that is throwing up the comments as well as doing the interview. So I hope I've been doing okay. Um, so Aaron is going to help get the backstage link up, and I do hope that some of you will join us on stage. There we go. There it is, guys. The link is in the comments. We welcome you to come up on stage. We welcome you to come share with us your thoughts about meeting Jack this morning. What are you excited about for the launch to come? Uh, do you have family and friends that you perhaps want to share this with? We are going to wrap our arms around Jack. We are going to welcome him to the literary world. And we are going to show him that we all, as human beings, have a journey that we walk. And we are so much stronger when we have hands to hold along that journey. And that's what we're here for. We are here to, yeah, we're here to put you on that stage. So, in the meantime, I'm going to ask you, are you willing to share with us anything personal? Like, for example, do you have pets? Do you like animals? Do you have hobbies? Do you anything at all like that that you might want to share? If you don't want to, that's completely fine as well.
Yeah, sure. Don't have a pet now. I'm somewhat of a pet lover. My children love pets more than I do. My stepmother does a lot with cat rescue down in Southwest Florida. She's really kind of a saint when it comes to animal lovers. She's really inspirational. She has saved hundreds, without exaggeration, hundreds, maybe thousands of little cats from street rescue, and then brings them to shelters and gets them adopted and so forth. So it's really inspirational. She's been doing that. My mother passed away young. I was 23 and she was 49, and that was a lot of traumatic experience for me as well. It was very sudden. She just died right in the house of a heart attack, and there's no way that we knew that was going to happen. Of course, my father suffered miserably for 2 years, and finally was blessed enough to find a second soulmate, a second love, and he's been married to her now as long as he's been married to my mother. So about 27 years each. He's had two wives and been married 54 years, which is pretty inspirational. But I had a pet. His dog was Buster when I was 6, and unfortunately, Buster lived a very short life. We called him the sausage dog because he loved to eat anything like a goat, and he was round, firm, and fully packed, is what my uncle used to call him. But it was one of the worst days of my life when that little dog died. My 11-year-old now wants a dog, so we're thinking about adopting one, possibly. We need to teach him responsibility. My hobbies are pretty varied. I grew up mountain biking in the hills of Virginia and West Virginia. I used to ski quite a bit. I'm an avid skier. I've skied all over the world, from Canada, Jackson Hole, and Europe extensively. So I'm a pretty accomplished skier. Some of my best friends went on to ski Olympics and college skiers and so forth. So I've really hung with a quite an accomplished crowd in high school and college as far as skiing, and of course I love to mountain bike. But these days I don't ski as much. I do more golfing and I like to go to the gym to try to stay fit. I try to walk about 7 miles a day, which is not easy to do, but I get up really early and get to the gym. And normally I'll have an audiobook or I'll read something in the horror genre, of course. Keeps my mind from how much my legs are aching going up those artificial stairs on the or hills on the treadmill. So
Oh, wow.
that's kind of me in a nutshell.
That's a break nutshell. Um, I have to force myself these days to walk to the end of my yard and back. Like, I now that I have stepped into this entrepreneurship journey and I have um, a boss that's well me, I keep telling myself, okay, that hour and a half that you save driving back and forth to work every day, now maybe you could get up and do 30 minutes of exercise. You think? Um, but I'm not quite there yet. Maybe you can offer me some motivation. For right now, though, I am constantly exercising my mind. My creative juices are flowing. Coming across somebody like you just kicked it up a notch in a completely different direction, and I am just loving it. Um, you talked about the cats, you talked about the dogs. I have a little furry son myself. His name is Pokey. He is 16. Um, and I don't know if it's lending to this whole project that I'm working on with you. The fact that I have these pretty sleepless nights this week. He's coughing like crazy, probably a kennel cough. And between the antibiotics and the steroids, he's just not quite himself. Um, so, I end up getting up two, three times in the night and I sneak on over, of course, to the laptop. God forbid that I shouldn't. Um, I pull up the manuscript. I'm reading little pieces here. I'm juggling ideas there. And in many ways, you know, I've kind of like placed myself as a character into your story. I'm sorry. Wait. Oh, I said I'm sorry. Oh, I can't believe I did that. But also, when I think about some of the things that you're sharing, skiing all over the world. I mean, friends that have gone on to ski, Olympic status. That's wow. That's big. So I guess what do you have you shared any of this with any of like those friends that have like gone on to like achieve this greatness because you're about to walk into yours.
Yeah, no, that's kind of you to say. Certainly, it's something that I'm going to be doing for sure. Is reaching out to various friends and networks and things, letting them know that it's coming. It's just difficult when you're writing under this alias name, right? So it's a bit of a balancing act, of course, with that.
Absolutely. I do understand that as well. And I have to say, personally, I think that the alias does lend to the intrigue. I
Yeah,
love that the alias you chose is one that is synonymous with this type of genre. And so we do have a question up by Leslie Flowers. So some authors say that they never wrote one word in their book that it was channeled or came through them from the universe. How would you describe this phenomenon while writing your book?
mm. Boy, that's a great question. I think that is true to an extent for this particular book. In the earlier, I mentioned that I survived a significant traumatic experience, and it was a real life altering. For a good year, I really wasn't myself. And when I wrote that manuscript book, whatever you want to call it, because I was just writing, and it was truly therapy. It was truly a cathartic purge of everything I felt, everything I went through. And I didn't have an audience per se. I just thought to myself, how do I get this toxin out of my brain, my body, and such? So that did flow, if you will, from the universe, from this energy. Sometimes it was really dark energy. Sometimes it was, I almost felt ecstatic, or I almost felt like I was a beam of light just traveling through the universe itself, like pure energy, and just would lose myself, could write for hours and it felt like it was seconds or minutes. So that's a really interesting question. This particular book wasn't quite like that. It was more moments of being greatly inspired, and then moments where I would just hit a brick wall and would have to let the inspiration come. And so I think for me, it was more, you know, just write consistently and don't be afraid to put down whatever comes, and you can always revise. There's no perfection. There's just your words. They're just your thoughts, and just whatever you want to think. Just be free, and just let your ideas come, and then refine, refine, refine. I guess.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I agree with you so much. I am like that when I write, and it's something that I encourage the people that write with me to do. Just throw up on the page, on the screen, whatever it is, just get it all out. Get
Yeah.
it all out. Okay. When I write, I don't stop to look at spelling, grammar, punctuation. None of that is in my mind when I am writing. All of that can be fixed on the back end. But when you are in a space, when you are in a energy flow, like you say, go. Just go. Um, we are actually joined by a few people backstage, and I would love to bring them up. One is Leslie Flowers. We're going to bring Leslie up after we bring up Sharon Byrne. Sharon joined first. Um, but these two women have also participated in some of the anthologies that are published. So I know that they're going to come up here, not only excited to meet you and to share about what we're discussing, but I am pretty sure as authors and co-authors and storytellers, they too would want to congratulate you on this journey. So, executive remote producer, we bring Sharon Burner. Good morning, Sharon, and thank you so much for joining us. And huge congratulations on your recent achievement of your certification.
Thank you, Nick. I'm always excited to be here, but I am super excited to be here today. Thank you for your congratulations on my personal training certification. Thank you for your support with that, with the writing, with everything that I do. You are instrumental in my life in so many ways. Jack, I am so super excited to meet you. Um, I have been writing with Nick. I have helped her with editing on some of the anthologies that projects that she's been involved with. And I absolutely love writing. I've been writing privately since I'm 9 years old, but I was first published this summer. And it has always been a dream of mine. And I can resonate with so much of what you're saying today, Jack, from the disability angles to everything. But what drew me to be on stage was all of that, plus thrillers and true crime and all of that is my favorite genre. Mysteries and thrillers and psychological thrillers is my favorite genre of book, other than autobiographies and biographies. Um, I could get lost in a thriller like there's no other. And Nick, you asked us to say if we could remember one particular book that we've read. I've read so many thrillers, but two that stand out, if you don't mind me mentioning two. One was called Sisters, and I can't remember the author's name right now, but that book was amazing. I usually can figure out the end. I did not see the end coming, and I really wanted this author to write a sequel, but they didn't. not that I know of. And the other book that stands out in my mind, Dean Koontz is one of my favorite
Mm.
mystery and thriller, psychological thriller authors. And so one of the books that stands out in my mind is called False Memories. And that was before audiobooks really came out. And it came out in the middle of my reading that book as an audiobook. So audiobooks are easier for me to manage because of my disability. But I actually read that book halfway through as a hardcover book. That book just enthralled me from page one all the way till the end. So I've always been interested in the mind. I studied psychology and sociology in college. I've always been interested in human nature. And Jack, I can so resonate with your wanting to understand what makes a criminal mind a criminal mind. So I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry, Nick. Sorry. Don't say sorry here. But I'm just so excited to be here. I can't contain my excitement. And I can't wait to read this book. I can't. I wish it was March.
You're forgiven because this room hasn't happened in many, many months. So we will have to revisit the rules as we go by. But thank you for catching your own sorry, because I don't want to get thrown out of my own room for saying sorry. Jack, please. Yeah, I know you probably want to address some of the things Sharon just shared with us.
Yeah, Sharon, that's a tremendous compliment, and thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your experience and connecting all of this. It's really nice to hear, and I do think that there is an appetite for probably many reasons. I think at the heart of psychology, psychopathy, these thrillers, and even unfortunately, these dastardly deeds that happen from killers and so forth, is there is flaw in humanity, right? There's brokenness that happens in passing on generations of childhood trauma, and the anger that comes from one generation, the disappointment and all of it can easily be passed on, almost inherited, through action, words, and even maybe DNA to the next generation, which is truly a tragic thing, right? You have this innocent, beautiful child, which is like a beautiful, fresh rose, and we just, as humanity, stomp on it, And so there, it is fascinating in its deep and dark way to evaluate or maybe investigate that, to examine, maybe is a better word. Why is that? And where does it come from? And can it be stopped? Can it be broken? Can the cycles be broken? And so I think I'm hoping that as people read this book, this silent canvas, they'll get something a little deeper. And that's partially why I did choose Jack Torrance as a character, as inspiration, because one of the things that I wrote in my notebook a long time ago about Jack Torrance is that he really represents a struggle between personal redemption and self-destruction. For those who've studied philosophy and psychology like myself, we know, even religion, right? We see the constant struggle between good and evil, the battle between darkness and light, and the Eastern philosophy of yin and yang. We see that Jack, much like many of us, or at least many of us in this sort of role, this sort of villain, if you will, and different iterations of it, like the Joker or what have you. The role is both a protector and a potential killer, and it demonstrates an internal division, making him really a compelling character study on the human capacity for good and evil. And it's really his fractured mind, the psychosis, that we are drawn into. And we're not sure if his psychosis is brought on by the Overlook Hotel or if it's just there all along and he just gradually loses control and inevitably has these deadly consequences. So, in a similar way, I think you'll see some real parallels in the silent canvas.
Beautiful, beautiful discussion between yourself and Sharon. And I'm just tickled pink right now, and pink is not my favorite color. because when I, can be up here and share this conversation with you, Jack, uh, having that closeness and intimacy behind the scenes with the manuscript, and that you and I can share, and you more so, the backstory behind a lot of this, and for people to be able to come up here and express themselves this way tells me that they are grasping, um, you know, you, and that means a great deal. I think it's every interviewer's dream, to be able to shine the spotlight on their guest in this way. And Sharon, I thank you so very much for being an incredible friend of mine, a great supporter of GPW Publishing, and now by extension, yes, I'm making you a sister
I
of Jack's.
it's an honor. And Jack, I hope to get to know you better. I don't know if you're on LinkedIn or what how we can find you, but I really do hope that to get to know you better. I resonate with you on so many levels, from the human that you are to the disability connection to the thriller connection and the love of criminology and true crime and all of that and the mind. So I'd love to get to know you better, and I cannot wait for your book.
You absolutely will. You all can visit Jack Torrance's profile on LinkedIn, give him a follow, and get to know more about this. Ah, I want to say one of a kind individual. We are all one of a kind. You know that I feel this way. But we get to, in a sense, almost experience the duality here of the person behind the pen and of the alias. And I'm just loving it. So, Sharon, thank you so much. Have a great day. We'll talk soon. And I'm going to ask my wonderful producer to please. Oh, well, I don't have to ask him anything. Good morning, Queen of Irado, Leslie Flowers. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. So happy to be here. How are you?
I am like chills and thrills, and yeah, can you hear it in my voice?
Yes, I can hear it, and I'm so grateful to have a moment to ask Jack a question. But I do want to share a little anecdote with you, Jack. That um, I have been in that hotel with my family,
Oh,
and
wow.
my children saw the movie when they were young because the babysitter allowed them, and I was furious because that was a frightening. They were, uh, I don't know, maybe 6 and 9,
Oh,
really, maybe a little bit younger. And so, as we walked down the hall, the paisley wallpaper was there, and we all saw the two little girls and all that blood. So that was in North Carolina. Like, can you imagine? Right, that how freaked out my kids were. Anyway, here's what I wanted to ask you
sure.
as a writer, and I've heard many writers say, and I've experienced this myself, that they never really wrote a word. That the, let's just say, our energetic universe somehow caused the flow, and that it literally came to and through us, perhaps through intuition and imagination, and then moved into handwriting, typically because writing then causes the thinking and brings up the images. So, what I want to know from you is, do you see that you actually wrote it by yourself? Or did you experience this phenomenon that many authors say, that when it became easy, that it was easy because it wasn't us, our conscious three-dimensional us? So I'll
Mhm.
leave you with that question, please, sir.
Okay. Wow. That is really a multi layered and fascinating question, Leslie. Um, Well, you know what came to my mind? I'm going to start with this and answering it, or my best attempt to answer it, is nothing to do with writing. You know, I mentioned earlier uh, that I was a pretty decent skier, and skiing in places like Austria, Innsbruck, skiing in Switzerland, skiing in Jackson, Wyoming. You ski some of the roughest and most dangerous terrain on planet Earth, except, you know, terrain that shouldn't be skied, that you have to get there by helicopter and such. But this terrain is deadly. There's a place called the Plunge in Jackson, and it's like a 300 foot just straight drop, and you can't think. You just have to go. And so when you're skiing and you're by yourself, and you just see the sun peeking over the horizon and everything is just flowing, you don't really think, and you wonder, how am I skiing this well? How am I skiing this effortlessly? I know I'm a good skier, but I'm skiing like I'm a divine skier. And so I think in a similar way, the writing at times was like that I didn't want to stop, and I couldn't stop. You know, I would just continue to write and write and write. And then I would look back and say, I don't really remember writing that. And then how is that so tied in to the past trauma of my life? How is that so tied into this Jack Torrance character? How is it so tied into other things I've watched in true crime? How does it all come together as if it is something beyond my own conscious mind? So it's a very fascinating question, hard to answer. Um, but I think it's a little bit of both. You know, it's our own ability, it's our own experience, and of course, there's just something divine that happens when something great comes together.
Yeah, it's you answered it beautifully. Like you just sort of unfolded another layer to this whole conversation about who we are as three-dimensional beings, and um, what are these other dimensions, and as we tap into the depths of our imagination. Now, for me, I wondered, as I wrote my science fiction, wrote the outline for it, it was all done with visualization.
Mm.
And I use that. Sometimes I'll take a picture. Maybe you've done this. If I want to describe something, I'll find a picture of what it is I want to describe. And then it's so easy to describe it. Have you experienced that? And then I'll certainly step down and let the next person come up. I just was curious, what anecdotes or anecdotes do you use to fill in, the dialogue or the context, if you do anything like that?
Yeah, I think that's a great way for, maybe I understand now a little better, than maybe can answer a little more directly or better, is that each area, chapter, or whatever you might call it, of the book had its own theme. So there was first a theme of descending into darkness, or madness, I should say. And so I thought of what that would mean and how to build a story around descent, and what does madness look like? How do we think of normality, normal life, and then what would madness look like for most of us? What would chaos look like for most of us? And then I had another, little bit deeper in the book, a theme of a haunted past. And so all of us have probably a haunted past, or certainly maybe a past we wish was different, filled with some personal trauma, family, personal, whatever it might be. Maybe we've experienced abusive behavior from our family. Maybe we had to overcome our own violent tendencies or tendencies from others, our past failures that make us both an unsettling and sympathetic character, right? And these emotional scars, they're really a key factor in putting this story together. You know, and then another theme was the battle between good and evil. And so there's a couple of characters in the book that really have this internal battle to do better, to be a better person, and yet they're deeply flawed and they battle their darker urges. And there's this great conflict between what they want to be, what they know they should be, and yet the evil that somehow is awakened inside of them and makes them truly a terrifying figure. And then finally, it's just the unraveling, the fractured mind, studying how, people, how can they take a life, like we mentioned earlier, what leads us down that dark path that seems like the only inevitable conclusion. So yeah, I think you're right that those using those as kind of guidelines help me to create this whole, I
You know,
like to think, masterpiece.
Jack, sounds like that you, and I apologize, I just have to ask you this. It sounds like, as you were describing it, that each one of the chapters, which I've called episodes, has its own theme and is almost standalone. So, did you write it linearly, like from start to end, or did you create the different chapters and then put it in sequence, like in a storyboard? And then I promise I'll stop asking.
Oh no, that's fine. No, more linearly, it's maybe a little bit of both, because I did move things around, realizing I like these thoughts, this concept better here. But for the most part, using that structure and knowing what I wanted to say in real big picture. I didn't know word for word. I didn't know exactly how it would unfold. But having that structure, I think, really helped because I have tried, probably all of us, just sit and write anything. And sometimes I'm like, wow, I am really crazy. What is this? It is a scary darkness. And sometimes I write something that I think is a 3-page short story that I think is fascinating. I think, wow, that's really brilliant. I don't know that it has any point, but I love the metaphors. I love how it brings words to life and people can almost touch, taste, and feel these words. I love that. But in this case, it was mostly straightforward, very linear right from beginning to end. And there were moments where I was deeply inspired, and there's other moments where I thought, I don't know where I'm going to go from here. And I just had to dig deep and try to find inspiration from various things.
Thank
Biggest thank you to both of you. Leslie, you had really, really intelligent questions. And I didn't expect any less. And you drew so much out. Um, that's right. That's why you are the hostess of Mind Over Matter Mondays, which we are going to be doing tomorrow morning. Yeah, shameless plug. I just threw that in there. But the reason I did is because, when I think of somebody like Leslie who has co-authored and authored both an incredible number of books, um, and that she's speaking to someone that is coming out. Um, it just brings everything together for me. It brings together that whole idea of a talent that we have in ourselves that we can often push back down or for various reasons, whether it's judgment or fear, choose to not explore further. I hope that part of what you take away in this conversation is how important it is to allow your imagination to carry you away, allow yourself to dream those big, hairy, enormous dreams that you think couldn't possibly come true. But know that the universe is waiting for you. And, it's going to send you messages. And when you are ready, it is going to take you to some amazing places. Leslie, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Greatly appreciate you. And I know that we'll be chatting very soon. So, go ahead, Leslie.
You're welcome. Thank you for letting me. I mean, so many questions, and really, what it is. I wanted people to see that are writers like the things that I asked him are the things that I used to be confused about, and that when I got a little bit clearer about these things, I was able to take a little bit more action on my own behalf. And so, Jack, in deep gratitude for your answering those questions and letting people inside the mind of a person that actually completed this cycle, because it takes a lot to actually, I mean, I know it's taken your whole life really to culminate in this one or incredible piece of work. And I'm just grateful to be here, just like Sharon was. So thank you. And thank you, Nick. And
You're welcome, and thank you.
you're welcome, dear.
Thank you, Leslie.
Alrighty, so we have about 12 minutes before the end of the show. It's been an hour and a half. What a great way to kick off Nick Never in Control the audio room again. We'll be back in 2 weeks. But before I dive into what's coming next for Guiding Brilliant Writers, I do want to say hello to Adrian, to Christy, and to Erica. I do see you guys, and I did see, thankfully, that Aaron let me know all the comments are not coming through StreamYard. Those of you that know me know that I am very big on acknowledging that you're taking your time to be here this morning. Um, Jack Torrance, The Silent Canvas, will be launching on March 15th. I am looking forward to all of you participating in the launch and bringing Jack to where he needs to be. He needs to be heard, he needs to be seen, he needs to be felt, and you will get another opportunity soon to speak with him. So if you did not make it up on stage today, you will have that opportunity on Monday, March 10th. He will be a guest on Polished with Jenlyn Ford. Jenlyn will take over the interviewing process from me. And Jack, before I bring you off stage, I want to um, make you an offer, and you do not by any means have to answer this now. So, GBW Publishing is launching on July 1st a collaborative book with 21 co authors. And the name of that book is We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnosis. You shared something with us today, something that I was unawares of. And it would mean a lot to myself. It would mean a lot to the co authors in the book if you would consider joining us with a chapter of your own, of course, as Jack Torrance, and overcoming some of the challenges that you have to be where you are. These were diagnoses that you once had and that you have worked very hard to overcome to be where you are now. And I feel that in sharing stories, it will give others, especially perhaps of a younger age, um, the motivation that they need to know that they too can overcome any types of disabilities, especially ones that have to do with reading and writing and being able to really and truly express themselves. So I'll leave you with that. I do believe that we know how to get in touch with each other. So
Yeah,
you don't have to accept now. I do not want to put you on the spot, but I want you to know that that offer is there.
well, I'll just tell you that, given my past experience and certainly the near-death experience I had many years back, I made a promise to the universe, to God, to myself that I would always pay it forward. And I can't think of a better opportunity to pay it forward, especially to maybe young, inspiring writers or young readers that someone out there can identify with the struggle and can make their journey a little bit easier or a little bit more attainable. They could see it as more attainable, that if I can do it, then so can you. So why wouldn't I want to take advantage of that opportunity?
Okay, so I thought I was going to get myself through a show without tears, but I don't know about that. I guess it isn't professional for your publisher to start bawling on live, right? So you have not done me the honor. You have just done the 16 co-authors who have already joined. Who have already joined this mission that's titled "We Choose to Be More Than Our Diagnoses." A great honor. You have bestowed upon them a great honor, and I want to show you that gratitude, not just for myself, but from all of them, because I already know that those who are here that are in it are jumping for joy, and those who are not here that are in it will soon find out, and we will definitely talk about this some more after. So with that, um, I truly thank you for your time today. I wish you a wonderful rest of your Sunday. And my executive remote producer is going to bring you backstage if you want to hang out. I'm going to be closing this show shortly, and we can certainly chat a little further. So thank you. Okay, wow. What a show this morning. My goodness. You know, when I started this journey, the first thing I did was the audio room months before I went live. And one of the things that made me feel that I wasn't ready to do something like this was being a guest on other people's show and that feeling of being utterly emotionally drained after just 20 minutes of a guest appearance. Carrying a show for an hour and a half is not easy. But when you have people like Jack, like Sharon, like Leslie, who join you on stage and help carry the conversation, it makes it easier. And I guess a big part of the reason why so far I have done so many anthologies is because more hands make the load lighter. And I am working, and perhaps it's a good time to share. I am working on my first solo book, and that book is Bipolar Me. And more will come on that. But I also do want to share at this point some things that are coming down the pike for guiding brilliant writers. Guiding Brilliant Writers is going to be launching a section called Our Voices, the live readings from the person behind the pen. This is going to air on YouTube. It's going to start weekly, and co-authors and authors who publish with Guiding Brilliant Writers will have their time to do a live reading of their chapter. And authors don't know about a live reading of an entire book, but we certainly will get there. Also coming in addition to the publishing services that we offer, which you should know is a full service publishing offer. We do everything from starting with your book cover design. We do all of your promotion across all platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And by the end of next week, the handle at nickthegbw.com will be up. The website will be running, and a section of that website would be dedicated to all the co-authors and authors that are published with us, with links for your fans to go purchase your books and to follow you. There's no charge for this if you have published with us. And yes, and there's and. Because if you know me, it's go big or go to hell home. Next up, and perhaps I will be able to recruit the man backstage to help with this, these books are going to be coming down the pike in audio version. So when we do this, you bet we are doing this big. Why? Because it takes a lot. Even a chapter. It's not just a chapter. It takes a lot to sit and pour your heart into your work, and you deserve your moments to share it in the world. You deserve your moments to have that spotlight shared on you. And I'll leave you with this. In a message to my family, I'm hearing you on my legacy. In all the anthologies I write in the last chapter. And in this book, I ended with this. Do not ever let others' judgments become the foundation of your beliefs. People will judge, and you have to be smart enough to look beyond that and find who you really are on the inside. Build your own foundation on your belief systems. Choosing to live my life with integrity, kindness, love, and passion has given me the freedom to pursue and succeed in my endeavors. And I want to see your dreams come true too. Take this into next week. It is 11 o'clock. I thank you for joining me on Nick Never in Control, and welcome Jack Torrance to the Nick Never in Control family. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye-bye.